Should I rent or should I buy? That's the big question. Now, if you've followed this channel, you know that generally speaking, I'm a big proponent of owning your own home, paying yourself at the end of the month rather than paying a landlord. So is there ever a time that we should rent? I want to just go on record here on this YouTube video today of saying there is definitely a time that you should rent rather than buy. When would that be? If you're young, if you're broke, if you have no money for a down payment that's going to be at least 10%, hopefully 20%, if you have no contingency emergency savings, by that I mean 3 to 6 months of savings in case something goes wrong, if you have consumer debt, credit card debt, if you have college loans, if you have a car payment that's somewhere between $400 or $500 a month or more, you're going to definitely have a low FICO score, and that's going to keep your ability to get a good mortgage rate in the cellar. So those are all reasons why you should rent rather than buy. But I think that you should be very, very proactive in turning that around as quickly as you can. So let's say in a 2-year period, you make some decisions that you're going to get out of debt. You're going to downsize in a car. You're going to cut your car payment in half, and you can. You're going to cut out some Starbucks coffee at $6 a pop, because you multiply that times 5 or 6 days a week or more, because if you're getting 2 Starbucks a day, just do the math. And you're going to find out there's a lot of money going through your hands that Starbucks doesn't need as badly as you do. It's costing you a lot to rent, but there's definitely a time to rent. You see, when you buy a home when you're broke, Murphy's going to move in. Now, Murphy's the guy that says if something can go wrong, it will. So Murphy's going to move in with his 3 cousins. Desperate, broke, and uneducated. You see, when you're a renter, the advantage is when your hot water heater goes, you just make a phone call, and mysteriously someone shows up and fixes the hot water problem. If you notice that there's a puddle under your kitchen sink, you make a phone call. And mysteriously, a plumber shows up, and you don't know how much it costs. You don't know, the rent doesn't change, but the problem got solved. Your microwave stops working, you make one phone call. The landlord, evidently, that's who you called, right? Well, somehow somebody shows up, fixes the microwave. So when you are a homeowner, you've got to have money set aside for those unexpected events that Murphy invites into the home. So there is definitely a time to rent. I want you to hear me say that. There's also the benefit. You may do the math and determine that it would be better for you to pay without any added repairs for your home that you own. As a tenant, maybe you're going to buy a secondary investment property so that while you're paying a tenant, you're using other money to pay for a down payment on another home, and maybe you can make more money by paying a lower rent and getting a bigger rent coming in at the other way around. And then you start saving on that little by little. And when you're done, maybe in a 4 or 5 year period, when you now purchase your home, you've already got a secondary rental. There are options. I don't want to be just a dumb hard nose that says no exceptions to the rule, because these are all facts. But now could I tell you why I think overall in the long term, buying is a long-term better option than renting? Let me give you some tips. Advantage number 1 to purchasing and owning your own home is that when you purchase that home, you have a built-in savings account. You see, when you pay the PT, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, yes, there's some money that goes away and it never comes back, but there's at least some money that comes back to you. And every month that you pay that principal, interest, tax, and insurance, that money increases. You pay more and more toward the principal of the loan than you did the month before. It's small in the first couple of years, but it increases in over a 15 or 30-year period. Eventually, everything is paid off, and now you own it. One of the most important things for you to consider when purchasing your home is avoid getting an ARM. An ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. That means that for the first 2 to 5 years, usually, that the payment remains the same, the interest remains the same. But whatever your adjustable rate mortgage limitation is, at the end of that time, you are obligated to pay that loan back in its entirety and then figure out a way to adjust it. Now, if you plan on selling the home in the next less than 5 years, before that arm comes up, then you're probably fine to get an adjustable rate mortgage. But if not, if you think that the interest is going to come down rather than go up, you are running a serious risk. And the predictions for the next several years is that the interest rates will probably overall go up rather than down. Why? Because they've been historically at the lowest points in the last 20 years. And they're probably going to continue to stay up. So don't get an adjustable rate mortgage unless you absolutely have to. When you get that fixed interest rate, the beauty of a 15 to 30 year fixed is that that interest rate will never go up for the life of that mortgage. So inflation, when it goes up, you're going to earn more money to keep up with inflation. That's the way national economics works according to the Fed. And now your home is increasing in value. And so you are going to be paying actually less money than before, even though the amount remains the same, because inflation is going to be driving the value of your home up. That brings in the second advantage. Not only is the first advantage that you get a built-in savings program, but the second advantage is that you have an inflation hedge. You see, when inflation goes up, the value of your home goes up if you're at a fixed mortgage rate. Some people count on that being true, and so they pay only the interest. They establish their mortgage program so that they're only paying interest, because if they own the home for 15 to 30 years, inflation will oftentimes double the value of that home. And so they just pay interest while they're investing in savings to buy a secondary investment home, and boom, they're off and running. You have an inflation hedge if you own your home. When you rent your home, be understanding of the fact nothing, absolutely nada, zero, rien, fui, comes back to you. That's the second advantage. Thirdly, when you own, the advantage is you can pick where you own. No one's going to twist your arm to buy anything that you don't want to buy. Location is the most important of the three things to determine the value of your home. The second is location. And the third thing that determines the most value of your home is location. Wait a second, did I say location? Location, location? That's exactly what I said, because location, location, location is what most often is the primary deciding factor of the value of your home. I could take you to Malibu, California, show you a single wide house trailer that would sell for $1 million. It's not because of the tin and the plywood veneer that is inside that trailer. It's because of where that trailer is located, that mobile home, that manufactured home. Location, my friend. You get to choose when you buy your home permanently where that location is. Make sure you know which side of the tracks you're on. You've heard the expression, I was raised on the wrong side of the tracks. That usually means that the rich people lived on one side and the poorer people lived on the other side. There are lots of quote unquote tracks. It can be a highway. It can be a landfill. It can be a toxic waste site. It can be the site of who knows what, but there are lots of invisible lines. That's why it's very, very dangerous when you buy a home in an area that you're not familiar with, and you do it on your own wisdom rather than paying for a realtor to give you inside information based on experience. You're running a huge risk that you have bought a very poor location. And I'll tell you this, locations always bring the price up or down. And you want to make sure that you buy in a location that has an upward turn rather than the downward potential to take you to a lower price. Fourth advantage is what we call curb appeal. Now, curb appeal can be changed. Certain things are hard to change, very expensive to change, but color of the paint on the inside and outside, the landscaping, that can be changed very, very quickly. If the pillars of the house are in the wrong place, if the elevation or the lines are goofy and it looks really, really stupid, dumb, out of place, ugly, You got to be careful. But you get to choose that. Now, when you're in a rental situation, you can't take someone else's home owned by a landlord and do an interior design, changing walls, changing flooring. You can't do that without permission. When you own, you can do whatever you want if you're willing to pay for the expenses. Fifth advantage in owning a home is this. You get to work within your own parameters. You oftentimes don't have a landlord. You will have, probably if you're in Florida, good possibility of having an HOA, a homeowners association, but you'll know that on the front end because every homeowners association is required to reveal their rules and regulations prior to your purchase. How do you decide when and where to buy a home? Here's the rule of thumb. Let small decisions take a little bit of your time, energy, and money. Save your time, energy, and money for the big decision. Probably the biggest financial decision of your life, buying a home. I hope this has been helpful. If it is, would you please hit the subscribe button? Would you consider sharing it with your friends? Maybe you have a partner you want to purchase with them. Maybe you have a parent or an uncle or an aunt that's willing to help you out and co-sign with you. This would be something that you should probably watch together and then discuss it. If you have questions or comments, I promise you, if you ask me a question, I'll research it, and my next YouTube will be on that topic. This is Brent Haggerty, Gulf Premier, Sarasota. You have a wonderful time.